talk Giants. I'll start with the Giants and Redskins. I know it's been a couple weeks. You know, I'm not, and I said this on Twitter in a tweet, and I was like, I just can't, I'm not good at rooting for tanking, for my favorite team to tank, especially when it's a football team. Football is kind of a tricky sport where it's not basketball or baseball or where it's a little easier to tank. I just think it's harder to tank in football. It's like you're asking for a football player to not play at 100%. And I don't know that it's in a lot of football players' DNA to do that across the board. 11 guys on the same page. We're tanking. We need to tank. So a lot of people thought that this was the Chase Young Bowl. Whoever loses this is probably going to get the number 2 pick and going to get Chase Young. And I just wasn't rooting. It was just I was in a weird headspace because it's like I don't want to root for them to tank, but it's like if we win, we don't get Chase Young, so it's like, you know, I'm kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Here are the main takeaways from this game. There was leading up to this game, I was reading, and I think I mentioned this last show, that there's rumors or speculation or buzz inside the organization that Daniel Jones is not special or great and that he's just okay, which I think is unbelievably inaccurate. And I don't know why they would think that, because I've seen with my eyes the kind of plays that this dude can make. And yes, he has some shortcomings here and there, but I don't know that I would rather have anyone else back there. I really don't. You look at the class of 2018, like Josh Allen really gets you stiff. Dude was 3 of 5 for 5 yards today at one point. Sam Darnold is really your guy. I haven't seen a whole lot from Sam Darnold that makes me think he's all that. Yes, Baker Mayfield had an amazing rookie year. Set the bar for other rookie quarterbacks. He didn't do shit this year. So, I know everyone's still harking back to picking Saquon Barkley with the number 2 and saying, like, there's so many other players we could have got that would have made a better, bigger impact. Daniel Jones, quite possibly, if he's in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and if he wins Offensive Rookie of the Year, that means you have back-to-back Offensive Rookie of the Years. How are you claiming that those are bad selections? You have to admit that Daniel Jones is better than advertised. When he was picked, everyone was all doom and gloom. They thought he was the worst thing that will set the organization back 10 years. Far from it, dude. Far from it. Okay? Yes, he's a rookie who makes rookie mistakes, sometimes really dumb mistakes, sometimes unfortunate things that, it's just going to take time. Just have some patience. But he's shown you enough flashes of brilliance that you feel good going with him as your guy. And honestly, when Eli Manning played in 2004, did you look at that guy and go, oh, yeah, this is Peyton Manning, the next coming of Peyton Manning. Oh, yeah, this guy's special and great. Did you think that in 04? Because I didn't fucking think that in 04. I thought, wow, we have this guy who's kind of like, I don't know what he's doing. But like we've obviously put all our eggs in his basket, so I guess we're going to ride with him. And it wasn't until the following season in 2005 when he had Plaxico Barris and Shockey and Tiki, and they were all operating at a high level. And he was surrounded with he had an amazing offensive line, and he had weapons, and it was like, okay, Eli Manning is a good quarterback and could possibly lead us to the promised land. And then he just choked in that wild card game against the Panthers. So, and it wasn't, and even like 2006, we barely made the playoffs, lost the Eagles 2007, even that 2007 season. It's like, we didn't really know, is Eli Manning really the guy? And then he wins that Super Bowl, and it's like, oh, okay. So pump the brakes on we need to go after Joe Burrow. Are you fucking nuts? Daniel Jones is the guy. He's going to be fine. Jones has 28-plus fantasy points. This is after the Redskins game. 28-plus fantasy points in 4 of 6 road games this season. So he's good on the road. He's not so great at home, so we got to work on that. But that's good to know that he much like Manning, can go into an opponent's stadium, put up with the crowd, put up with all that other nonsense, get to business, and do the right thing. Jones is tied Deshaun Watson and Hall of Famer Fran Tarkenton for the most games with 4+ touchdowns by a rookie since 1950. I mean, it's pretty good company. Jones is the first Giants quarterback with at least one passing touchdown in 11 consecutive games of a single season since Eli Manning in 2008. You fucking wrap your head around that. 2008. Eli Manning played for fucking 10 or 11 more seasons and hasn't done what Daniel Jones has done in those 10, 11 seasons. And Jones is the first rookie quarterback to throw for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. I mean, these are all very positive things. Things that you can build on, things that you can stick in your cap, a notch in your belt, whatever cliche shit you want to say. All that is so good about Daniel Jones. And you're talking about how we need to move on from him. He's not special or great. He's okay. Get the fuck out of here, dude. I mean, you know, I just love his ability to move left and make throws while moving left. Accurate throws, good throws, spot-on throws for big gains and big chunks of yardage. Saquon Barkley, our offensive rookie of the year from 2018, has 20+ fantasy points in each of the three career games versus the Redskins. So it's like if we're facing Washington, you know he's going to have a big game. His 279 scrimmage yards were the most in franchise history, and that number was tied for 24th in league history. He's 19 games with 100+ scrimmage yards, tied for 5th most in his first 2 seasons in the Super Bowl era. And yet that people think that's a mistake. Us picking him is a mistake. It's like the 2 people that we've landed on that have done well, we're now criticizing that. Can we just grow up as a fan base? We're so accustomed to shitting on all the draft picks because Reese has turned us into a quivering puddle that we can't appreciate the good picks that we have. We just can't appreciate the good picks that we've made. Why can't we appreciate Daniel Jones? Why can't we appreciate Saquon Barkley? I mean, Saquon was not himself this year after that injury. You can see when he's fully healed, he is a monster and is a game changer and can turn the tide in a second. So I am really happy about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. And now it's a matter of getting an offensive line that can actually protect their quarterback and open up holes for the running back. And I know I'm making it sound simpler than it is. That's the truth. And here's another positive. I think after debating with myself over and over again, maybe we found a tight end for the future. Kaden Smith. Against the Redskins, he had 6 catches, 2 touchdowns, one of them in the game winner in overtime. This is a guy who can get open. I was going to say make the tough catch, but this Eagles game might contradict that theory. But he's also a pretty decent run blocker from what I've heard and seen, even though he got called for a holding against the Eagles. So it's good to fall back on. I don't think Evan Ingram is the tight end for us. That said, I don't want him off the team. Still think he's an asset. I think he becomes a receiver. And I think when he's not bunched up close to the line of scrimmage with all those heavy, big bodies banging around and he's out, separated a little bit and he's on a safetier corner, he's going to win those battles. And then he's going to win those battles on route runs, pass routes, but he's also going to win those battles and run blocking. So keep Ingram, make him the third wideout, keep Kaden Smith. And maybe jettison Rhett Ellison. And Simonson, whatever. If he wants to sign for league minimum, so be it. Got serious flow, though, those locks. Markus Golden, here's another positive. Markus Golden. He was initially credited with half sack, and then they went back and gave him a full sack. That gives him 10 sacks, and that means he gets a $1 million incentive. Congratulations to Markus Golden. He's the first linebacker since Lawrence Taylor to put up double-digit sacks. That was 1990. 29 years ago, dude. 29 years ago. We have not had luck with our linebackers. since Mr. Taylor. B.J. Hill had a sack and 2 tackles for loss, and that was kind of good for him after somewhat of a down year when they thought, and when Gettleman thought that he's such a bust that they had to bring in Leonard Williams. Yikes! DeAndre Baker had 8 solo tackles and 1 tackle for loss. But here's the deal: a win's a win, and it's great, but this is a Washington team that is in shambles. Dwayne Haskins left the game because of injury. They were missing all kinds of people on offense and defense. We were up 28-14 and 35-21, and we couldn't stop Case Keenum. So if I had to guess who was tanking, it was the defense. The defense wanted to lose this game big time, get Chase Young. So, it's great that we won, but it took us overtime against a very bad Washington team to pull that off. Which leads me to the Eagles game. Eagles came in decimated by injuries. No Alshon Jeffrey, no Deshaun Jackson, no Nelson Aguilar, no Zach Ertz. Miles Sanders was banged up. I had to leave the game. Lane Johnson, their starting tackle, was out. Jalen Mills was out on defense. Their secondary was all kinds of mash unit back there, the Walking Dead. And we got blown the fuck out of the water. Yes, this game was tied 17-17 in the third. It was 20-17 at the end of the third going into the fourth, and then we just completely imploded big time. I mean, look at the fucking box score for the Eagles on offense. Boston Scott, 4 catches, 84 yards. He also had 19 carries for 54 yards, which is not a great average. But the dude caught balls and was picking up yards after the catch. Dallas Goedert, who I had on my fantasy team, and it looks like he could be another Zach Ertz. Josh Perkins, Deontay Burnett, Greg Ward. I mean, these are all undrafted guys that were not on the team like weeks ago, and they tore us up. I saw a stat that Carson Wentz threw for 4,000 plus yards, which is the first time an Eagles quarterback has thrown for 4,000 yards, which is nanners. But it's also the first time a quarterback has thrown for 4,000 yards in a season without any receiver having over 500 yards. And I talk a lot of shit about Carson Wentz, and I still have a lot of doubts about the guy. But the fact that he's able to put up those numbers with like a fucking nobodies is pretty impressive. So hat tip, hats off, whatever. I mean, we are just... The Eagles have won 7 straight games against us, and 11 of the last 12. They're now 15-5 in December or later since 2017, which is best in the NFL, including the playoffs. I mean, that used to be us. We used to be a December team that would just come on strong in the latter months. And it's just, nope, no thanks. Not even a thought anymore. I mean, our leading receiver is Kaden Smith with 8 catches, 98 yards, and 11 targets. So he's developing a nice little rapport with Daniel Jones. I will say, though, there were 2, and here's nitpicky Neal coming at you hard and fast. There were 2 passes where essentially I don't want to say he needs to make those catches, but it's like he had the ball in his hands, guy comes up and hits his arm, and it pops out. Had that happen 2 or 3 times. So still 8 of 11 targets, not bad, and a decent average. Golden Tate, 5 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. Golden Tate's a weird dude, man. Not weird, but just funny. It's just like every catch is amusing, and he celebrates every catch, which is it's just fine. But it's like, dude, we're down 34-17, and you're like, whatever. You're acting like you just climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I mean, the touchdown catch was amazing. The wherewithal to like pin it to your head and remain there just to show the referees like, this is control. I have control. But like, it's just like there's no normal catch and run for him anymore. It's like every catch has to be so crazy. I saw some like chatter online about like, do we bring him back? Is he worth bringing back? Do we think he's a part of the team moving forward? He's obviously, I don't think he is the number one, and this is where we are now. Odell was our clear-cut number one. He's gone. They bring in Golden Tate. I don't think they really brought in Golden Tate to be the number one. I think they thought, here's a guy who's consistent. He's like tops in yard after catch, which is great considering we don't have the deep threat anymore in Odell, even though we do have Darius Slayton. Slayton had 4 catches, 50 yards, and 9 targets. Not a great game. He had the one big reception I think it was in the third quarter, beginning of the second half, on a crossing route. But he slipped on the one interception, which they're pinning on Jones. Sidney Jones picked off Daniel Jones. Slayton slipped. If he keeps his feet and battles for the ball, maybe he knocks it away or even comes up with it. And then, Daniel was trying to like force the ball to him deep on the left, and Slayton just couldn't get positioning, which is not great, And that's the thing that really bothers me is like, yeah, Daniel threw for 300 yards, which is good, but it's against this, other than Malcolm Jenkins, Eagles secondary is not good. And the fact that we could not, and the fact that we lost by 17 is all that you need to know for where this team is at. That, the broadcaster said at one point, the broadcast team stunk. I did not like this broadcast team. I mean, at one point the guy said Alec Ogletree is excellent in coverage. What? Do your research, dude. On a play where Ogletree got burned, like big time, he said that. So, not great broadcast team. But he said at one point the Giants are a team that are always like 7. They say that games are ultimately determined by 7 to 10 plays per game. And I turn that into the Giants are 7 to 10 players away from winning games on a consistent basis and competing for a playoff spot. In my opinion, they're 7 to 10 players away, which feels like such a large chunk of your team. But if I had to count it down, 7 to 10 players. Offensive tackle, center. So that's 3. Middle linebacker, safety, corner, maybe another linebacker, corner. Yeah, so that's my 7. 7 to 10 players. Oof. It just feels like we're so far away, and I don't know that you're going to make that up in a year, in one offseason with the draft and free agency. It's not impossible. It just feels like a lot. And to expect that all those components to come together and gel and have chemistry, it's like, I don't know about that. Boston Scott, Josh Perkins, Deontay Burton. Who the fuck are these people? And we would get burned. And that's what's so concerning is you have the Redskins and the Eagles who are not anywhere close to 100% in terms of with their roster, missing a lot of key components on both sides of the ball. And we're like barely able to beat the Redskins, and we get trounced by the Eagles when they're like a medical ward, a triage. That's bad. And we're not missing a ton of players. I mean, we missed Evan Ingram on offense. That's it. And then on defense, you're missing Peppers and Connolly. That's not good. So Michael Thomas led the team with 13 tackles, 12 of which were solo. Julian Love, second. Markus Golden, 7 tackles. David Mayo with half a sack. I don't know. I guess Antonio Hamilton played all right. DeAndre Baker looked like shit. I think he had 1 tackle. So just when you think you're coming around on DeAndre Baker and he doesn't deserve all the flack he gets, it's like he puts up a game like this and like last week where it's just like Steven Sims is torching us. Like, what is going on? And here, you look at the box score and everything seems even, right? But then there are little things here and there that ultimately decide the game. Eagles were 3 for 4 in the red zone. Giants were 0 for 2. Eagles had 0 turnovers. Giants had 2 turnovers. That fumble and shotgun formation is like inexcusable. I don't know who to blame on that. I guess maybe it's Jalapeno. Maybe it's Jones for not paying attention. But then the offensive line also gave up 4 sacks. Will Hernandez does not look good right now. I think 2 of the sacks, maybe even 3, were on him. Nate Solder has already said that he would be open to a position change in 2020. It's like that's the highest paid starting left tackle in NFL, and he wants to move away from the left tackle position. But that's essentially what needs to happen. He needs to go to the right tackle position, and they need to draft someone and maybe even sign a free agent on the left side. Some positives. Saquon Barkley becomes the first running back in franchise history with 1,000+ rushing yards in each of his first 2 seasons. I mean, if you're not happy about that, then you need to take the stick out of your butt. Barkley also has 20 career games with 100+ scrimmage yards. It's tied for fourth most in his first 2 seasons since 1950. And that's with Shurmur not utilizing him properly. That's what's so crazy is like he's putting up these record-setting numbers, and it's like we can still use him better than we are. I mean, he had 17 carries today, I think, and 4 targets. I want to say 21 touches out of 72 snaps. Feels like he should be getting, I don't know, more than that, a third. 21, 25 times 3. Yeah, I mean, he should be getting a third of your offensive snaps should be designed and targeted to go to him. And if you're not doing that, you're failing, and you're losing. Daniel Jones has 20+ completions in 8 consecutive games played, tied for 3rd longest streak in Giants history. He also has 1+ touchdown in 12 consecutive games played, the 2nd longest streak in Giants history. But yet they're the reason that we're losing, right? Because there were other people that are better that we could have picked instead of Barkley and Jones. I mean, seriously, like, grow up, take a pill, do whatever you need to do to get your mind right. Because it's not Barkley and Jones, folks. It's defense, and it's just horrible coaching in my mind. All right. Well, that's it. My guess is tomorrow is Black Monday, aka quote unquote. So I would assume there were already, statements before the game from like Jay Glazer and others saying that it looks like Shurmur's out and Gettleman stays. There's a dude on Twitter named Geekboy Ethan who says, you're a dummy if you like that. And I don't view myself as a dummy. I think there have been plenty of articles that have pointed out the shortcomings of Dave Gettleman. I would not be sad or upset if they got rid of him, but I would think that of the two, you would not keep Shurmur. You would keep Gettleman. He is misfired on a lot of free agents. There's no doubt about that. Matt Rule, the coach of Baylor, who's like a favorite, who I would love to see get a chance to coach this team, has already said that he will not consider the position as long as Gettleman is GM. That's a bummer. And I would be very tempted to show Gettleman the door or tell him, hey, man, whatever Rule says goes. And you're kind of here to provide input here and there, but like he gets veto power. He's got control. But for the love of God, whatever you do not hire Jason Garrett. So, I mean, Shurmur has already thrown Gettleman under the bus, saying that he's doing the best with what he's got, and that a lot of these guys that he's got on the field would not be starters on most, if not all, NFL teams. That's a shot at Gettleman. But yet you have, people saying you have Daniel Jones, who's putting up like record numbers for a rookie quarterback for the franchise history, NFL history. And Golden Tate wasn't so bad. I think the PD suspension really left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. I know me especially. I don't know that I'll ever be able to get over that, because it's like that really sent our season spiraling, especially after losing Corey Coleman. Yeah, so that's where we're at right now. And so, I don't mind if Gettleman goes. I don't think it's a huge mistake if he goes. I just think, there was a quote from Ron Rivera to saying that, like, it takes, in the military, it takes you 3 to 5 years to figure it out. And we only gave Shurmur and Gettleman like 2. That said, I think Shurmur has shown enough to be shown the door. And I don't think Daniel Jones will self-destruct without Shurmur there. I know he gave him a vote of confidence, and so did Saquon. But I honestly think that we're beyond Pat Shurmur and James Betcher. I think he needs to go as well. And, I think it's for the best. So thanks, Pat Shurmur, for, I guess, coming in and stabilizing the clubhouse, even though we had a guy get waived for saying the R word. And I will probably try and have a full season recap next show. Hopefully we can take a look back at like the all-decade team and all that great stuff next show. So that's the show. Follow me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, screen name Real Cinch, Facebook.com/giantmess. Call the hotline 862-BIT-1986, and adios, muchachos.